Welcome to Badger Beer Hour, February 2024. I'm super excited about this one. We've been working all month towards this. We have a fabulous guest. His name is Phil Dawson. He is the Great Dane's Chief Information Officer, co-founder, and assistant brewer. So we're going to be literally going around the world, taking you around the world. We have the news with Chris and Landon, of course. We are our friend Joe Geyer, who is Brewery Travelers, will make his debut here with the Brewery Report. We're going to start keeping really close tabs on the breweries in Wisconsin, openings, closings, what's going on with them, and delivering that to y'all. And Joel's also going to have a segment of where he talks about traveling in Wisconsin for beer. And this month we're going to feature Oshkosh. We will also, Landon has been working, well, for a couple days to assemble the latest beer events from around the state. And want to mention that I'm going to be drinking a wonderful Pilsner, German style Pilsner from Delta Beer Lab, who just celebrated their 5th anniversary party on Saturday. And if you would like more information on that, you can check our YouTube page where I have a short about that that I shot last Saturday when I was there. So without further ado, y'all, here is Badger Beer Hour News for February 2024.
Chris,
Landon,
how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Great. You drinking anything? Are you
I'm
drinking
not.
beer? Oh my
I'm
God.
not.
What a loser.
What? This is the news segment. You can't start. Slacking me yet.
I drink during the news. So, Chris.
I know. Usually do. I do too. I just wasn't. This is not the most prepared the Beer Baron's been for the news segment. No, I mean it's good stuff. It's good stuff, but it's going to be a little more off the cuff than usual. Maybe. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start off February with the freshest news, right?
Yeah. You got to. This news happened today. So this morning over at Third Space Brewing in Milwaukee, our former Badger Beer Hour guest Samantha Dane, friend of show, led the brew day for the annual Pink Boots Society collab beer, which they call Like a Girl. That's an IPA, Like a Girl IPA. Several female and non-binary brewers from around the state took part in this. In the making of this beer that benefits the Wisconsin chapter of the national organization, that's the Pink Boots Society, and Pink Boots supports and promotes women in the brewing industry. They funds raised from this beer last year contributed to Pink Boots Society field trips to Malt Europe in Winona. They're the big malting facility there, Winona, Minnesota. That's across the river. That's over by a little by you. Not really.
It's not too far away from me.
A little bit, yeah. And then also to a hop farm that I'm blanking on the name. It was in the story that I edited this morning, but that's the story. There it is. That's in Fitchburg near Madison. I forget the name of the hop farm. They also had a scholarship for a brew and malt workshop at Breese. That's all benefiting. All of this is specifically geared toward women in the brewing industry in Wisconsin. So nice cause, obviously. Like a Girl IPA is dropping March 8th. That's International Women's Day. If it's not on your calendar already, that's a Friday. Falls on a Friday this year. At the tap room in the Menominee Valley in Milwaukee, and then Like a Girl, like as in previous years, will be in retail across the state shortly thereafter. So, and that's not the only effort that's happening for Women's Month in the beer industry. Throughout March, the Women's Beer and Spirits Collective is holding events at bars and restaurants around the state. Their mission is similar, raising awareness of women awareness for women in the I guess I was going to say the brewing industry, but it's the beverage industry.
Yep.
And they also do fundraising for charities that support women around the state. Two notably that are beneficiaries this year are Sojourner, I believe it's called Sojourner Peace Center in Milwaukee. That's a domestic violence shelter and
Okay.
advocacy organization. And then one in Sheboygan called Safe Harbor, similar mission there. So really good stuff. This is the third year that this collective has been working, and they've raised like thousands of dollars in the last couple of years. It was and this is the first year that it's expanded to include spirits companies. But there are brewery members and spirits and kind of like beer adjacent businesses that are also involved. It's a little bit more broad than Pink Boots, because Pink Boots is kind of geared around brewing itself.
Yep.
A lot of the members of this organization are sales folks, kind of, admin, not directly in the production area. And of course that, all the issues that affect, brewers, women brewers, are also affecting other employees too.
Right.
It can, as we have heard from multiple guests throughout the years here, it can be a tough industry for women.
Absolutely.
This was kind of spearheaded by Three Sheeps Brewing and their sales extraordinaire, Juliana Perindozzi. Sorry about the pronunciation on that, Juliana. And this year, Three Sheeps is making a special beer called Lady Lupulin IPA. It was created by their cellar team member, Kate Tama. And it's going to be hitting shelves statewide, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is not just a southeastern Wisconsin thing, but it's going to be one of the seasonal rotation in the new Three Sheeps variety hop pack. It's a mixed 12-pack that they just released at the beginning of this year. The first version is out now. It has First Kiss Double IPA coming back for the first time in a while since that beer went on hiatus. Very nice. And they're donating 50 cents from every pint sold at the tap room of this Lady Lupulin IPA to Safe Harbor, which I mentioned earlier. You can find there are events all over the state. A lot of events, like it seems like pretty much one every day or a couple per day in around the state. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram under the Women's Beer and Spirits Collective. So you can keep track of them, keep track of all those events and everything there.
That's great.
It is great.
It's great that we lead off with a nice story. Yeah. And we're going to follow it up with another nice story.
Well, kind of. I don't know. This one kind of cuts both ways for me,
Well, I mean, I guess if you're down in that area, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
we'll follow up on a story from last month.
Yeah, that's right. This is well, not last month. This is from our special show, our special Friday show, where we broke this big news. Yeah. So, and you may have this has been out, and if you're a friend of Badger Beer Hour, you probably know this already. But Venture Brew Co. in Milwaukee is buying or has purchased Beloba Brewing in Brookfield. So Beloba has been open since 2014. It's in essentially, I guess you could call it downtown Brookfield. It's a little kind of village center. This is a very kind of big kind of ex-urban community. But there's where Beloba is, it's kind of a little town center that's built around an old rails station, and a couple other businesses down there. It's a nice little spot. And Gordon and Jane Lane, you can see Gordon in the middle there in the photo. They founded it back in 2014. This was kind of a late in life endeavor for Gordon, kind of second career, and they've had enough and they're ready to retire. So it closed for good last Saturday. And Venture has the guys from Venture, Simon on the left in that photo, and Rob Gustafson, both of whom I believe have been on the show. They have been in talks with the Lanes for a couple years to kind of be his exit strategy, and the time came and they pulled the trigger. I believe it was just I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago that they finally finalized everything. So we'll be seeing Venture opening up. Venture, just I guess we should maybe say what Venture is. They opened in 2018. It's a brewery and coffee roaster, dual kind of the cafe tap room model. Real small, like 200 some barrels a year, and they're pretty much at capacity. Located in Milwaukee's Washington Heights neighborhood, which is about 8 miles east of Biloba, almost on the same North Avenue axis there. And they're looking to complete the remodeling and updates and, putting their own Venture spin on that tap room by St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. So you've got just a couple, just maybe soon. What is that? That's 3 weeks to get on their horses and get everything ready. The brewing, that's a 10-barrel brew system at Biloba, and they'll be bringing that online later as permits kind of roll in. But they're hoping to have the tap room open, and I guess the cafe type hours, coffee service is. I haven't talked to them since the story drop, but that was kind of to come later, probably after the beer service starts, because of the equipment necessary and staff training and stuff like that. So, Venture West, looking like you can raise a dry stout to Venture West on. I don't know if they'll have a dry stout. It's kind of made that up, but yeah, that would be appropriate, right?
Yeah.
You could bring your own like bootleg green dye and drop it in a little bit of the Heights saison. That would be appropriate and also incorrect, but do what you're gonna do.
Probably not good for you either, food coloring. But anyway, you want to get on that soapbox.
That's all they do with those kegs of Miller Lite.
I know. I don't drink
basic
those.
Shit.
So we're gonna news is short this month, so we only got one more story, and it's from some people that will consider honorary Wisconsin beer.
Yeah. This is across the border in Minnesota, but it's a big one, so I think it's worth talking about. And they're good citizens in the beer days, bringing it in with a nice pun there. New adventure. But Fair State Brewing Cooperative, good citizen, and has a pretty big presence in the Wisconsin beer community, I guess you could say, is entering Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. So this does not mean that they are closing necessarily, although one certainly hopes that this is a step to avoid that. This is a reorganization that will allow Fair State to continue to operate with a court-approved business plan, and then the way it works is they pay back the judge approves the plan, and then they pay back their creditors over time. Yep. The reasoning, as explained by Eater Twin Cities, I'll have to cite them for this quote from this is founder and CEO Evan Sally talking here. He says, "The short version of it is that the pandemic dug a hole for us as a business, and we tried to move heaven and earth to dig out of it, and ultimately we couldn't quite get there on our own. We need to use this tool to reorganize, restructure, and get on the other side as a healthy and sustainable business." The story goes on to talk about foot traffic and being down significantly since the pandemic, and just distribution revenue also kind of lagging since then. It does, Fair State is a cooperative model, and I think we talked about a little bit about this in the Friday show, kind of as in speculative sense. They, Sally said that they're also unionized, which is not super common in beer, or at least craft beer. But Sally said, they're not really looking at staff reductions or benefit. That he basically said that the union is not anything that was an obstacle for us. We're not really going to change a whole lot in terms of like staffing levels and stuff like that. So he really downplayed the idea that or the cooperative model might have been a factor in this. One thing that the story does note that I found kind of interesting is two other co-founders of Fair State, Nico Tonks and Matt Hauk, both left full-time employment with Fair State in the past year for personal, quote, life reasons. Oh, and it says that they have both. It says also that they have both been involved in planning through the bankruptcy process. So, yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot, especially this time of year. If you need to support breweries that you care about, if you feel like there's a brewery that has that shares your ethos, or you really like their beer, or you like their tap room, or you like whatever reason you like a brewery, this is the time of year to put your money where your mouth is, and support that. That's it.
It's a tough time in the Twin Cities area right now. There's a lot of breweries that are closing for various reasons. So
Is that so?
Yeah.
Do we have some breaking Badger Beer Hour news here?
No breaking news. It's just they've been kind of falling. We all kind of held our breath after we kind of came out of COVID a little bit, and hoping that all the breweries would survive, and a lot of them did. And I think we're starting to see now the effects that it had on many of them.
Yeah,
so.
we have talked a fair amount about this on the show, that we were all expecting kind of like a rapid bloodletting, and we didn't really see that. We didn't even the last couple of years. No, it's been pretty slow, and it felt like maybe the normal. I mean, there's a couple hundred breweries in Wisconsin now, and the normal like casualty rate of businesses you'd expect to be right around where it's been.
Yep.
But I do worry that this is we're not done. We're not done with this. So
no.
But I don't know. Maybe that's too sour of a note, because the business has always been tough, and
you hope.
Yeah.
You hope. Yeah. But so
that is Badger Beer Hour news for February. You got to do it, Landon.
You're
All right, this is exciting. We have a Badger Beer Hour first, in that we are going international with the Badger. Badger Beer Hour is all about Wisconsin, but today we are going to be talking about beer in Japan, and I'm delighted to be joined by Phil Dawson, who is the spearhead of Great Dane Japan. And the Great Dane, of course, we know here in Wisconsin, we know the Great Dane as the one of the first, if not the first, brew pubs in the state. Downtown Madison, now locations in Wausau and a few around the Madison area. A classic, and now in Sendai, Japan. So
here we are.
And Phil, through the miracles of global technology, Phil is taking time out of his Thursday double brew day to talk to Badger Beer Hour. So we really appreciate. When you said you've got a double brew day today, I'm like, oh.
Well, it's fine though.
We'll have to
be off the brew deck,
All right. So Phil Dawson, tell us about how did this happen? How did Madison to Sendai, Japan happen? What's the deal?
So there's just been so many connections through the years. Basically, it's been at least a 10-year journey to get to this starting line, where we just opened January 19th. So we've been open for a month, basically, here in Sendai. But it all started really, my part of the story comes in 20 years after the real story starts. This story starts 30 years ago, when Rob Labreglio, the co-founder and brewmaster of the Great Dane pubs in Madison, he had hired a guy from Japan, a guy who had, was there visiting and was walking around and doing some things, but he loved going to the Great Dane pub. And Rob said, hey, why don't you come in and try some of these beers, and I can teach you how to brew. And then they send him to brewing school, and this is him right here. This is and so this guy, this is the guy who 30 years ago walked into the Great Dane and then became friends with Rob. And so this friendship had started, and a couple years later, he has to go back to Japan. So we're talking about like 1994, 96, 1996-ish, right? They opened in 94, 1996, he has to go back. And this is the same time in Japan, and the beer scene in Japan, when the government deregulated what making beer for breweries was. So you had to have a certain amount of beer you had to make. And in 1996, they deregulated from like 200,000 barrels. So there were only 5 breweries here for 75 years to making, 500 barrels to get a brewery license to start operating as a brewer. And so the landscape started changing in 1996 here, but it wasn't very good beer. There were a lot of businesses just getting involved, would hire a guy from Germany to come in, be a brewmaster for a couple of months, and then boom, out they go. And now you have craft breweries here, but none of them are really making high quality beer. And so that's 1996, right? That this starts happening. And it turns out Rob's brother lived in Japan for a decade and teaches in Kyoto, and still works here on occasion. Once every couple of months he's here. His best friend lived and worked here in Japan and wrote travel guides for Tokyo and Kyoto. And so that connection was already there for Rob, right? And but it had slowed down over the years. Because, they're opening up these other brew pubs. They're growing as a business, and a lot of this stuff is changing, and their business is growing to the point where, in Wisconsin, there are laws that you can only own and operate so many brew pubs. There's a maximum amount of beer you can actually make as a brew pub in Wisconsin. So my career, as you know, Chris, and you were a fan and a listener, and we engaged with each other quite a bit. I was in radio and television, and I like to credit you for calling out some of my we could get into this. We're calling out some of my beer choices, but a lot of the beer that I would get would be like free beer from distributors. Like I was on a radio show, so we were sponsored by, Miller Lite or Bud Light or whatever. So I'd just get a bunch of free beer and just drink all that beer and tweet it out. Like, oh, I'm drinking free beer. And you're like, why are you drinking that? And so sure enough, this venture into craft beer as a fan started for me. This is probably, I don't know, 2010 or 2011, something like that. And so I get really into beer. You are a big influence on that, just like taking beer more serious and studying it and learning about styles and flavors and this and that and all the great stuff that goes when you start nose diving into beer. And I absolutely loved it. And then I got married. So my wife is Japanese. We met in Madison, Wisconsin, and we would then start taking trips to Japan. And it dawned on me like the 3rd or 4th time visiting here that like, what is going on with beer here? Why don't they have any like craft beer? You're at a restaurant and they have 10 wines, they have 12 sakes or nihonshus, and they have shochu, but they have 1 beer on tap. And you're like, what? And you ask for another beer. Do you have something else? And they're like, well, you want a can? Like, no, other beer, do you? And so this started that nosedive into like what is happening in Japan. And by the time I started reaching out to people in Japan, like brewers and making connections over here, and, like sending pictures of what like Woodman's looked like, like here's the beer aisle at Woodman's, and taking pictures of thousands of different.
It's like a 6-minute long video just panning through.
Yes. Yeah. And seeing all that. And so that just led to this realization, like, I got to do something with beer. This is my future. I have to do something. And so, like I said, I'm doing radio and television at the time. And once or twice a week, I'm doing these shows, like coaches shows or recruiting shows, sports shows at the Great Dane, Hilldale, or the Fitchburg one. And so I'm there each and every week looking around like, you know what? They need something like this. And so that's when I get introduced to Rob, and I start telling him like, I think this thing, and I want to do this in Japan. And then he's like, no way. I want to do this in Japan. I'm like, no way. or can we actually do this? And he's like, you got to find this guy, Tetsu, the guy who kind of peeked over his shoulder. So I looked him up, found him on Facebook. I'm like, hey, man, I just met with Rob and we want to do this brewery thing in Japan. What's going on? He's like, I've been waiting for this for 30 years. Let's do this. I can help. I want to do it too. And so it just like expanded and exploded into this, to what you see here now is like,
whoa,
this
that is
amazing facility.
That is not a baby brewery behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about the brewery itself? I mean, this is not. Greg, show us the exterior. This is a big brewery, right? I mean, it's not like a big
certainly
Japan big brewery,
so
but
this is a like 1,000 square foot facility. Does that sound right? No, 10.
No, that's too small.
Square meters. We use meters here.
Yeah, that's quite a bit bigger. That's like 9 times bigger.
Square feet is what my apartment was. Yeah. But it's huge. So we have a 30-barrel brew system and a 3.5 barrel pilot system that we use to mainly supply to our tap room. We have 16 beers on tap, and we have this 30-barrel system to provide mainly our cans of our flagship products. And right now we have 4 or 5 different cans we're trying out to the general public to see what's going to stick. And this is one of them. This is great lager. This is a easy drinking lager that fits the Japanese profile. I think we had just a touch of hops to it to add some aroma. But otherwise, it's like just a silky smooth, easy, crisp drinking lager. And it's that's kind of our flagship product for the mass Japanese market versus because what has transpired over here recently, and not recently, in that 10 years that we've been growing and trying to make this happen, is that the craft beer industry has expanded quite significantly here. And so we're trying to position ourselves as a leader in this growing industry.
Right. So talk a little bit about that. Like I imagine you described this kind of almost like basically the end of, similar to what happened at the end of Prohibition in the United States, like the number of, I don't know, it's probably different, but basically the field opens and all of a sudden craft beer can be a thing, but the early adopters are not really up to the standard. So can you kind of describe how that, what that restaurant that you described having one beer, what does that look like today? Compare contrast to the American kind of craft beer, what we're familiar with here, and kind of what do people want in your, when you come into your tap room or in the shelves, on the shelves in the markets or whatever.
Yeah. So what has changed even since the 10 years when we started looking into this, when and we even did a little documentary back in 2014. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that, but check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called Craft Beer in Japan, and it's Rob and I and Rob and me and we took travels here and visited breweries and stuff to try to get the gist of what the industry was like. And it's changed significantly. For example, in Tokyo at that time, in 2014, you had to travel 30 minutes on a train to get from a place that had craft beer to another place that had craft beer. This is the largest city in the world, right? Now, at each stop on the Yamanote line, which is the main train around Tokyo, you can, in walking distance, there's 4 or 5 places you can get a craft beer, And so this is a significant change. But again, it's still a niche, and those are small niche places for craft beer fans. And the craft beer fan here in Japan is significant enough to support the industry, the entire industry, right? Because all of these people are supporting, the lower amount of breweries and tap rooms, et cetera, but there's a high demand for it. So they're willing to pay premium prices and they want it. They can't get enough of it. So it's really like what it was 15 years ago in America, where the demand is so high for it, and the production and the high caliber of beer isn't available everywhere. So you really have to seek that out if you're a craft beer fan, even though more of it is available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the general public is still what is it? What is craft beer? What are we learning about here in, it's really a learning experience for new people into craft beer. And so we're right on this, introductory phase. We want to have introductory kind of phase beers to bring more people in, and then they can go find and seek and pick their favorites, and maybe they find a brewery they like. But we want to be that entryway, that gateway to craft beer. So we're very, like the Great Dane is in Madison, very family friendly. We have great food, and our beers are, our first round of beers, we've brewed a month, we had a month worth of beers, and mostly our Great Dane recipes that, are very familiar and very, very approachable, easy drinking. Like that's what we're trying to hit here, because just that education needs to go up to where then people can start making that dive into all the crazy stuff. Then you have the craft beer fans who are like, give me sours, give me this, give me that, give me all this, give me all the hops you can.
Do people want hazy IPAs over there in Japan?
Oh, they're huge, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay. It knows no boundaries.
Chris, huh? Especially me. I want to.
So one of the things that I found really interesting with the cans that you showed, or that Greg showed, I guess, is like the Great Dane branding is there, which is interesting. Like, does it have, do people know that this is? I mean, I assume they do, because it has English letter, like, I mean,
I'll tell you what,
like, is this like American craft beer to them, and is that cool? How does the brand play?
So what's interesting is that beer that you're showing, that's the Great Lager recipe with the can art that's used in America. We don't use that same logo here. This is to make that understand to the American public that this is the Japanese version of this. So we have very plain white, what could I say? Like a distinct can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks basically similar to this. I would pull. Hold on, I'll get it. Hold on. Just wait.
Oh, cool. Oh boy. So there it is.
So that's the Great Lager can that you're showing, but this is ours here.
Okay.
So
but I mean, like that's got I mean, it says, I can read that Great Lager right there. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All in English, so they definitely know. And our story is here in Japanese.
Okay.
And so we're really selling the fact that our company has 30 years of experience in the American craft beer industry. And that's why you can trust us as consumers. We're going to make great beer for you. And so so the branding is starting here. We have an idea that, we'll have like 6 different, we're calling this kind of like a white label. We'll change this for, I'll get it for you. Hold on.
This is happening live, folks. This is happening live. So Phil has been, I met Phil when he was working at, he was like the sports talk radio host on my favorite show on the station in Madison, the Big 1070. And, he's called a national game, national, NCAA Final Four games for like a national, kind of the alternate, national audience. He's done a lot of like sports broadcasting is kind of his first career. So this is why it's like, to me, it's fascinating to like see this this huge, like, complete left turn, which I guess that happens a lot in beer, but you don't usually see it happen all the way across the all the way across the globe. All right, what do we got here?
Okay, so white label with orange, that's our amber. We got an amber, Chris. Can you believe it?
Dude, ambers are coming back, man.
They're back, man. So like, there's some difference in branding here, but this is a white label. And then we have, this one is a specific beer, Great Dane Akio Onsen. I'm out of breath now.
What is tell us about the red label there. What's special about it?
So this red label here is called Akio Onsen Uegari Pilsner. That's what it says down here. This says Akio Onsen beer, Uegari Pilsner. Uegari is after a bath. So where we're located in Sendai is at a place called Akio on the name, right? And you can see the dog in a bath. Okay. Yeah, he's in a spa. So the area we're in is a hot spring resort town. So these giant hotels with like outdoor hot spring hotels or hot spring pools.
Okay.
And so this beer is a beer only for this area. We won't release it outside the area. And it's made with rice that's from our neighbor. So it's basically like the Great Dane German Pilsner with rice. And so it's delicious, easy drinking, just for this area. And then you make a cute little logo because now the hotels can put it in their gift shop and have something cute to bring home, you know?
That's great.
All about cute.
Tell tell us about where Sendai is, and you know, you mentioned Tokyo being like, you know, potentially one of the biggest markets in the world for stuff like this.
Sure.
Sendai is kind of close to that.
Sendai is so.
I don't have a good scale of Japanese geography, so kind of run us down and kind of what I guess what the business plan and, you know, what the hopes are for this brewery becoming, you know, the like the Sierra Nevada of
exactly
of Japan.
So
maybe.
Sendai is, and again, because you don't have high speed rail like we do, Sendai's 2.5 hours, 2 hours, maybe hour and a half north of Tokyo by bullet train.
Okay.
It's a 4.5 hour drive, but everyone takes the train anyway, so it's an hour and a half on the train from Tokyo. And it's the largest city north of Tokyo on the main island, The main island's called Honshu. Tokyo is the biggest city. The next biggest city to the north is Sendai, where we are. And then you have Hokkaido, which is a different island up to the north where Sapporo is. That's the largest city north of Tokyo, but then you have Sendai in the middle there, which is on the same island. Anyway, the northern region where we're located is called Tohoku, and this is like 6 states, right? Yeah, look at that. 4 hours, 43 minutes by car. But you can take a train. It says 3 hours, 14, but that's not true. It's like an hour and a half on the bullet train.
Okay.
So this northern region where we're at is called Tohoku, and that's the area that we like kind of claim as our hometown. Our hometown is Akiu. That, you know, we want to lock up Akiu with like stuff like this, that we have this area. Sendai, then we can offer kegs to craft beer bars and restaurants that can handle, these. They only use these 15-liter kegs. We don't use 50-liter, and I even speak in liters now. These what would this be in gallons? I forget.
15 liters. That's like
it's
about 4 per gallon. So yeah, it's about a 6 still. Yeah.
So it's like that. So the only half barrels we have are for our tap room.
Okay.
You know, and so like this is the normal size. They even use smaller sizes, and a lot of them are just like insta cooled with glycol. They don't have any cold storage, so like it's a very dicey ball game when using these, unless you're going to someone that really knows what they're doing with craft beer. And so that's also another part of the education process. Like you can open a craft beer bar, but you have to run it right. You have to run it correctly. You have to clean your lines, you know, like that's an important thing too, because you don't want to taste diacetyl in our beers, you know, if we give them to you. So, so that's the game plan. I mean, it's to own our home area. And then obviously Tokyo is so big. It's like its own monster. And so anything that can happen in Tokyo, we'll take it, obviously, but it's not our like main focus because it's its own animal, you know?
Okay. How it's been, you said it's been about a month since opening?
Yes, we've been open for since the 19th. So it's the 22nd.
And that's like the tap room opening. Is that the official kind of?
Yes.
How has it been? I mean, like, what are you guys running out of beer, or what's?
We ran out of. So our kind of 2 flagship products are that Great Lager, which you've had, and then you may know it as Summer Stash, right? That's it's a seasonal session hazy IPA that is sold in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So we call that our everyday IPA here. Same recipe, but it's I think it's like 4.2%. It's very easy drinking, approachable. So those 2 beers sold out, and we're like back. We have to get We're like, they're like, God, we need more. And so that's why we're doing a double brew day today. Because it's not only our tap room, and then we have we have to get it in cans for for people to order online. Online is another big part of the business here. And
It is.
yeah, online's huge part of the business, partially because there's no 3-tier distribution here. So we can distribute anywhere by ourselves, or just like with what we call Sagawa would be UPS. So UPS can come pick it up in a cold truck, deliver it to wherever it needs to go. So like there's no middleman involved, which is a really nice thing, but it also limits your actual distribution. And then you have like, they have distributors here, but then you have to tier your beers at different rates, and you know, profit margins and all this kind of stuff when you're using them. So, you know, from us to the consumer is the best price for both of us. And so that's what we'd like to do. And so online's a big component in that, both ordering just like cans for people, or businesses ordering directly from us.
Wow. Okay. How, like, what's the, I mean, this has got to be exciting as hell. I mean, just
It is.
I mean, 10 years of kind of building toward this, and here we are. So, I mean, what's kind of the outlook? I mean, I don't know, how are you feeling about all this?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like, I don't know. I have the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do it the best that I can. Like I spent just last week, I spent 4 days in Portland at Level Beer, because they have the exact same canning line that we have. And so I could go and train on that canning line. And then like the day I get back, I'm running the canning line here. Like, all right, there you go for it. So it's like everything that is happening thrown right into the deep end, and like it's sink or swim in it. And regardless, it's like swim. You can't sink. You got to do it. So,
Right.
you know, and you roll with the punches, and I couldn't be more, you know, I feel so lucky to be in a position that I'm working with professionals who are so good at what they do. Like Rob is such an amazing brewer and teacher, and like just generous guy that, you know, shares knowledge, shares everything that he can, because he knows that it's for the good of the company. Like anything you, come on, I'll help you out. What do you need? Let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's have fun. Tetsu is the same way. Tetsu, the brewery met 30 years ago, who, by the way, crazy story for him. So in 1996, he moves back to Japan, right? And he goes to work for this brewery called Yahoo Brewing. And Yahoo Brewing is now the largest craft brewer in Japan. And he helped create this beer called Yona Yona Ale, which is now the #1 selling beer in all of Japan. This guy made it, the first batches of it. And now they got bought out 30% by Kirin. So they have mass distribution all over the place, you know, and craft beer fans are like, you know, they're crafty. They're not really crafty. You know what I mean? It's just like
some things translate from English to Japanese pretty well, huh?
Right. Exactly. It's the same thing, but it's a great beer, and like they're really good. They're a good company and all this kind of stuff. And but like he's an amazing person. #1, that's where it starts. Like he's just an amazing person, and he's the guy that, so he went into the wine industry and was importing equipment. So he had all the equipment connections and all the building connections, and he has to shoulder all this load because he's the one that is Japanese and has to make all these conversations happen as well. So he's just like shouldering all of this just so we can do what we want to do. Like that's an amazing thing. Also, I don't know if you know this, but the guy who's running our restaurant is Shinji Muramoto from Muramoto Restaurants in Madison.
Oh, yeah, sure. Madison.
He moved here to open up our restaurants and run our restaurants. It's and like, you know, this guy is so good at making food and being like, you know, a in the limelight celebrity chef kind of thing. He's so good at that it draws people in as well. Like he's an amazing draw in our kitchen, in our restaurant, because he's, you know, he'll make you something so good you can't even like, hey, what is this? It's so good. And
does the do the people of Sendai and your customers there, did they know about Wisconsin? Like is Wisconsin kind of part of like the like say you mentioned the restaurant, like the menu or any kind of like you know, beyond just the beer and the, you know, the kind of knowing that, hey, this came here from there, like
yes. So we our #1 selling item in our restaurant the first month have been cheese curds. right?
Wisconsin's greatest
Nailed it.
export. Yeah.
The best. And like, we don't have Wisconsin cheese, but there's a farm that's 30 minutes away from here, a dairy farm called Zao Cheese. So like we had to tell them how to get curd. Like, we need this part of the cheese. We don't want your cheese, actually. We want this leftover thing. And they're like, really? Okay, you can like have it. We'll bag it up for you. Here you
That's
go.
like baby cheese. It's like baby cheese.
Like,
It's not ready yet. What are you talking about? Trust us. It's going to be great.
It's going to be so good. And yeah, so we have sausages. We have both like Jones Dairy. We have Jones Dairy Farm bacon from Fort Atkinson. We have Johnsonville sausages. So that's part of the menu for sure. Even our beer, like we have Breese malt. We imported a ton of Breese malt just so we could get that like similar flavor and support Wisconsin. We want to be a landmark Wisconsin business and make people understand what Wisconsin's all about. Good food, great beer, good times, like all that kind of stuff. That's what this place is about. And Wisconsin, it really isn't on the radar for a lot of people here. They know, the general public, I would say, like
Chicago,
it's New
probably,
York,
right?
New York, Chicago. Yeah, you have to mention Chicago. Like, oh, okay, kind of. Where is it? It's freezing there, right? It's just so cold, and you're like, yeah, it is. And so, yeah, it was so like that's also part of the educational process. Like it's all this is. It's like this big educational kind of push to things that we know and love and want to share with others.
Amazing. All right. God, Phil, great. It was great to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time out of your brew day. Yeah, let's see there.
All right. So again,
dang, that is a brewery, man.
I'm gonna switch to my my phone cam and I'll walk you around. How about?
Yeah, so great, awesome. Give us the tour.
Hold on.
Okay, I don't know if I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So here's the well, I'll start in our green room. Let's go. Okay, here we are. Here's our mill room, right?
There's your Breese malts right there, yeah.
Breese malts right here. Yes, sir. Breese malts.
Big sacks, super sacks.
Yes. We got some wiremen in case we need to make some big Germans, right? Then we have I'm going to take you, we'll say hi to Rob. He's doing the brewing. Oh, I got to get out of the way. There's Rob.
There's Rob. Hey, all right.
This is a Zoom. She's all brewer here. Sorry. Okay, so yeah. This is the big system, Wisconsin Brewers Guild.
All right, representing.
Represent.
How big is that system? What's the what are the specs on it?
30 barrels with 3 vessels.
Okay. Primo,
and
right?
And then here's the pilot system, which is 3.5. Pilot system fermenters.
Wow.
Fermenters for double batches on the pilot system, so 7-barrel fermenters. These are 30-barrel fermenters, 60-barrel for double batches. This is a separator centrifuge, and then bright beer tanks. And then we do have a flash pasteurizer. And for cans that are going to go outside of Sendai. So we don't know how long they'll sit on the shelves potentially. So we want to limit anything bad that could happen. And then here's our canning line, which I know how to run.
Dude, this is a hell of a brewery. Like, I mean, full capacity. Is this like a 10? Like, I don't know. Am I looking at like a 9,000 barrel brewery here, or something like that?
Yes, exactly.
Like, really?
And then here's
like,
a restaurant.
Oh, awesome! Oh, it's beautiful.
And it's very snowy here today. And like, so again, we're in this like village, and this will be like in the hills, snow, trees, and that'll be a beer garden in the summer. And we have
I'm agape, Phil. This is amazing.
It's super awesome.
Little mezzanine area here.
and then a big like Instagram spot.
Wow. Awesome. How cool is this?
Yeah, so come and visit.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we're putting it out. We're putting it on the travel. Joel, Joel's gonna have some a little bit of long distance to his next Wisconsin brewery here.
I got to show you this too. Last two things. So we have, I don't know if you can see this, like a big,
Awesome.
big thing called brewing, and then this is hard to see because of the light, but like it's a map, and here's Wisconsin. You can see this, and then like what is Wisconsin and the Great Dane.
Awesome. So cool.
And then we have like pictures on the wall too, of Wisconsin.
Farmers
I don't know if you
market.
know the
Yeah.
photographer Dane Williams. He sent us these amazing photos that we could share and be like, yeah, we're Wisconsin.
Oh, that's great.
They're up there too. So we always got to touch a taste of home in the brewery.
Nice.
There you go.
Wow. Great Dane Japan. All right. Well, Phil, this is going to be the Badger Beer 2 hours tonight. I have a feeling. So, but thank you for sharing.
Mugged by the brewer, the brew team. We did it. Hang it up.
Thank you for sharing the Great Dane Japan story. Congratulations on the big opening and the success so far. It's beautiful. I'm glad we could see. Glad we could. And
hey, and like you get some credit for this, Chris. You know, because you helped get me into beer more, take it more seriously, start understanding it. You know, I'm a big fan of yours, as you know, and I'm a big fan of the Badger Beer Hour. You know, I'm a big media guy, so like I can't wait to actually go back and listen to some episodes. I love all the Wisconsin like podcasts. I think I heard you on the New Glarus one, and there's the Carbon 4 guys are doing a podcast. It brings a taste of home here in the beer world. So I'm really happy.
Well, I'm really glad you could be a part of Badger Beer Hour here, Phil. This is amazing. Yeah, that's not a little baby brewery. This is the real deal. So congratulations to you and Rob and the whole team there. Wow.
Stay in touch. I'll
come back when we have a new release that we'll put out in Wisconsin or something like that. Right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Take care, Phil. Yep.
Thank you.
I don't know how we follow that up, but we're going to try. I want to welcome my friend Joe Geyer to Badger Beer Hour. He is the brewery travel. You've probably seen him on Instagram or Twitter as Brewery Travels. He is a friend of ours. Chris and I have been on his podcast. So without further ado, we're going to bring Joel on here. What's up, Joel? And
yeah, like you were saying, we go from featuring a Wisconsin brewery, opening up a beautiful facility in Japan, and now I have to try to follow that up with just some fun facts and figures. So kind of
good luck with that
there. But we have some visuals at least, so hopefully to spruce it up a little bit for some folks. But it's going to be kind of an introduction to this segment moving forward, I suppose.
Absolutely. And a little bit of intro, and I'm going to dip and let you do your thing. But we want to start giving y'all a report on what's the status of Wisconsin breweries. There's a lot of influx, as Chris talked about, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the same thing's really happening here with Wisconsin, where we have some openings, we have some expansions, we have some closings. I mean, it's just all over the board. So given your prowess in visiting breweries and your knowledge and your enthusiasm about breweries, we brought you on the Badger Beer Hour as someone who can talk specifically about our breweries and just feature them. So without further ado, Joel, I'm going to let you go. but I just wanted to thank you for joining our crew. We absolutely welcome you wholeheartedly here, and I hope the audience will enjoy not only learning more about you and Brewery Travelers, but also what you're going to bring to Badger Beer Hour. So thanks, Joel. I'll see you in a little bit here, and
Absolutely.
I'll let you roll, buddy. Nice to see,
Absolutely.
nice for you to be here, and yeah, good luck following up that last segment.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely. Yeah, for
wow.
sure. Yeah, so I know that if you have not been with us the last couple weeks doing my appearances on the last couple shows, but we're going to learn more about myself, I'm sure, later on if you don't already know about me. Currently, we are going to be kind of diving in. This is a project that Greg kind of approached me about in terms of actually trying to keep track of the number of breweries. And it's not as cut and dry as you may think, as you will soon see, kind of based off some of the graphics that we'll be pulling up here in terms of when you're counting breweries, in terms of what counts as a brewery, what do you have different categories for different types of locations. And so it was kind of an endeavor that I just jumped on. And I have to give a shout out to Matt Gardner from Twitter. And he was a person that reached out to me. He's also been kind of tracking some of this. So we were able to trade some notes in terms of what breweries are open, what breweries are closed, like what we're kind of thinking about, how you count certain locations. But yeah, Greg, do we have the, there we go right there. Perfect. State of Wisconsin breweries. So future editions of this discussion will be possibly shorter, but I kind of want to go through what these figures mean. So the number of breweries essentially means places that you go and you're visiting, and it's the primary brewery location. So when you think of a typical brewery, this is the number that you are thinking of. Additional tap rooms and locations is exactly what it sounds like. It is essentially where a brewery opens up either a satellite tap room or even a second brewing facility that they brew at. And that's the key to keep track of. Just because there's another brewing facility, it's still the same brand, it's still the same owners, et cetera, et cetera. And then where things can get a little hazy, pardon, a little bit of a pun, is the other category. And the other category is where we kind of have to distinguish what are we counting as a brewery and what are we not counting as a brewery. And just to kind of give a couple examples of things that we included in the other category as of now, Pilot Project Brewing, for those not familiar that may not be from the Milwaukee area. Pilot Project Brewing is originally from Chicago, but they opened up a much larger facility, taking over the Milwaukee Brewing facility near the Pfizer Forum, just outside of downtown Milwaukee. And they operate as a brewery incubator, where essentially Pilot Project is their own brewery. They make their own beers, but they also bring in kind of smaller name breweries that do not have their own facilities, whether it's because they just don't want to take on the financial responsibility of that, or it is really expensive and very difficult to open up your full-fledged brewery on your own. And so Pilot Project essentially allows these small breweries, sometimes that are only made up of one or two people, to come in and brew beer on a commercial system. And that beer is then served in the same tap room. And Pilot Project also with the marketing, and the breweries are all individual. Like, they all have their own branding. They all have their own marketing, their own merch. So they are separate businesses. But again, it's kind of hard to say when you go to Pilot Project, whether or not you count them as 4 breweries, as, one brewery. That's kind of where we have this separate category for other. Another example would be Gray Brewing in Janesville. I know that at one point they had a tasting room. They currently do not have a tasting room, but they are still brewing in Janesville and have their brewing facility and production brewery there. And so there's a couple other examples, but I don't need to go through every single one. That gives you kind of a general idea of what we are currently picturing in terms of the other category, because obviously that phrase is very broad and can cover pretty much anything. And then, as you can see, the map is something that I kind of put together to give people a visual representation of where the breweries are across the state of Wisconsin. It's pretty straightforward. It's a gradient. So the darker the shade of green, the more breweries there are. It should not be a big surprise that Milwaukee and Dane County lead the way. And yes, 34 in Dane. There were, if I pull up my notes here on that, There were 5, so there's 27 individual, and then there were 5 additional tap rooms and 2 that we included in the other category. So those are obviously the 2 they're kind of spearheading the way in terms of number of breweries, production, all that. And then there aren't really any other big surprises. Brown County, where Green Bay is, if you're not, familiar with Wisconsin geography, Waukesha County, which is the most major of the suburban kind of Milwaukee area. And then, from there, Outagamie, which is up again, kind of just around the area up by Green Bay, kind of Appleton, Neenah, that kind of general area. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure to note was that as of now, there are 10 breweries in the state that do not have a brewery of any kind. And there are a couple there are obviously several, as you can tell, that only have one brewery. But as of now, there are just only the 10 that do not. So that's kind of a basic rundown, in a baseline, I guess you could say, moving forward, and we will be able to provide updates. And as with the updates, we will then include kind of the information on, okay, what's opening, what's closing, do we see more growth or more losses in certain parts of the state, which, as you can probably imagine, are mostly going to be concentrated on Milwaukee and Dane, but it will be fun to kind of see if we see any other breweries kind of pop up instead of those white areas, or even the very, very light green areas where the population is not as dense, but I'm sure there is still demand for it. But yeah, I think it's a very cool kind of time to be following the Wisconsin breweries, because I know we talked about the fact that coming out of COVID, we have seen breweries kind of struggle. And I think this is still to show that craft beer is very, very strong. 270 locations in the state of Wisconsin is pretty awesome. And we just want to make sure that we're going out there supporting them, knowing where they're at. And later on, I don't know if we'll get to it tonight or not, but part of that I'm going to be doing is highlighting the lesser known areas, like, outside of Milwaukee and Dane counties, being able to kind of highlight the beer scenes and the brewery scenes all around the state to kind of get people to get out of their shell and go and check out some other places. So yeah, that's kind of the little bit of the initial rundown. I'm looking forward to following up on this and being able to be more on top of kind of following the growth and how the Wisconsin beer scene continues to grow and adapt.
What a show, Landon. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the beer scene in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
we've got all sorts of beer events.
Let's go.
Yeah. So coming up this Saturday, New Barons Brewing Co-op is hosting a onesie dance party from 8 to midnight. Yeah. You can dance in your onesie.
I can only
imagine. It'll only cost you $10.
Excellent.
Yes.
I wish I could get there. I wish. And New Barons has great beer, by the way.
Yeah.
New Barons, I don't know if you've ever had it. Great beer. Good beer. Good times. Had them at Lager and Friends with Chris last year, and I was really blown away by them. And they're a co-op too, so there's a lot going on with them.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a lot of fun.
Dancing in your onesies. We covered this last month, but I want to make sure I cover it again because these guys actually submitted this event to us. So coming up also this Saturday, Flannel Fest in Janesville.
There we go.
General admission features over 90 craft beer tastings, unlimited access to games. They'll have a cornhole tournament, lazy man run, which sounds like my sort of thing, homebrew competition, live entertainment, food vendors, and it looks like $59 will get you into that deal. So if you like flannel and you like beer and you're somewhere near Janesville,
let's go.
That is your place to be. Yeah.
Let's go. Wait, why am
thank you to, and I don't remember who submitted that event, but thank you for doing that.
Excellent.
We will support anybody who submits events.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Coming up this Sunday, so an event on Sunday. So I'm gonna be very slow and concise about how I say this. Vuck Finter, and it has an umlaut. So
Watch your mouth, Landon.
I
This
know.
is a family show.
Family show. Vuck Finter. It returns to Ray's Wine and Spirits. That's down in Chris's neighborhood. This is an outdoor party, and it will feature more than 33 Floyds and War Pigs brews, including a few Dark Lord varieties and the fantastic Cimmerian Sabertooth Berserker Imperial IPA. Say that 5 times fast. The party runs from noon to 5. Yeah. 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Chris will be there. I don't know. I don't know if he'll be there, but he'll be on a bender.
Well, right. Will you be there, Chris?
I will not.
Lame.
Then we don't need to talk.
We don't need to talk about it. This one coming up Saturday, March 9th. Chris is excited about this one. It's Pour Another Round Outdoor Beer Festival. It is at Badger State Brewing in Green Bay. It's only a 3-hour event, so 1 to 4. They are going to have 25 outstanding local breweries, unlimited samples, $35 in advance, $45 at the gate, $10 if you're a sober driver. They listed actually the breweries that are going to be there. So Anape, Badger State, of course, Barrel and Beam, Boulevard, Cocoon, Cool City, Copper State, Hinterland, Hop and Barrel, McFleshman's, Mobcraft, New Glarus, Noble Roots, Sabbatical, Skeleton Brew, Stillmank, Titletown, and then, of course, they said more. So it's quite a lineup they got there.
Yeah, and Badger State, another place of great beer.
Badger State. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then we've talked a little bit about Bachfests in the past. We're not done with those yet. So West Bend is having their very first Bachfest on Saturday, March 2nd. That's from 11 to 5 in Regner Park in West Bend. They made this beer especially, actually 1840 Brewing Company made this beer for them. So you can get your beer poked. If you've never had your beer poked, it's a good time to go get your beer poked. If you are not into Bach beer or beer at all, they're going to have all sorts of other beverage options. Designated drivers will receive non-alcoholic drinks for free. That is my kind of party. And of course, you'll see on the screen there all sorts of other things going on. $15 advance tickets. My guess is it probably goes up to like 20 or 25 after that.
That's very affordable.
Yeah. And then
we have an anniversary next, don't we?
Yeah, Craft Creek Brewing 2-year anniversary. They are in Manitowoc. This is coming up on March 16th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So a whole day party. They'll be opening up in the morning to celebrate. Great stuff going on all day. They'll be raffling off gift certificates, prizes, beer, and a 50-50 raffle. And then, of course, all sorts of beer. And I'm sure there'll be some special things going on there that day. Sounds like a good time.
Yes. And the next one sounds like a good time, but you won't catch Landon and I anywhere near that place.
Well, I wouldn't be there even if I was single. So this is for people looking for a date. Speed dating for people 45 and over. This is coming up on March 14th at from 4:30 to 6 at the Brewing Project here in Eau Claire. You can experience speed dating. They claim laughter. I don't know. I've never been on a speed date.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I would imagine
Hopefully.
they're going to have a food truck. You can sip their beer if you so choose to, and then seize the chance to meet the one or maybe make a friend. If you're 45 and over, though. 45 and over.
Yeah, and it won't be the people in the picture there because they're way too young for that.
Yeah.
But that's the inside of Brewing Project.
That is indeed the inside of the Brewing Project.
Yes. So thanks, Landon. Excellent. So there's a lot going on this week in the city of Milwaukee, y'all.
Yeah.
And so this is just a little quick screenshot of the 14 events that Milwaukee Magazine has accented for us. I would suggest if you are visiting Milwaukee or you live in Milwaukee, I suggest that you keep an eye on Chris Drosner's own, we have to say, Milwaukee Magazine. They do a wonderful piece, as you see here. Supermoon is releasing 6 very limited beers today, y'all, with Black Rose Brewing, and here in Madison, Supermoon. They both like funky beers, so I'm sure these beers are fantastic. So check that out. And if Supermoon has that triple in it, y'all gotta grab that. I mean, that's just so there's just so many here that we can't even really. There's a New Barons one. They got some yoga going on. They got that the thing going on with three Floyds. So there's so many good things. Check out Milwaukee Magazine for those, y'all. I have a banner here real quick that I can. Where is it? It's a long URL, y'all, but at least you can peruse over to milwaukeemag.com and you'll see that right there. And without further ado, we're going to bring on Milwaukee Magazine himself, Chris, to tell us about one final event. Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Nice promo there for that's a weekly column written by my colleague Dan Murphy. I think it posts every Tuesday, so you can check that out. You can just go to milwaukeemag.com and check it every Tuesday. You don't need to get the URL or whatever. Jazzy Bear, what's up, Simon? Okay. I wanted to talk quickly about Lager and Friends. You mentioned Lager and Friends earlier today. So tickets for that go. The date is June 4th. I should have had that ready to go for this segment, but I believe it's June 4th, and there's a change in the format this year. They're moving it from previous 2 years that had been at the big outdoor park beer garden pavilion space at Bavarian Beer House in Glendale, just up the road from Sprecher. This year it's coming home. So Joe Yito, fan of show, frequent guest, and owner of Gathering Place Brewing in River West, is they put this festival on every year, and they're bringing it home into not into the tap room, but they're bringing it to they do block parties outside on the street in front of the brewery a couple times a year, and there's enough room out there that they can do it there this year. And there's kind of an interesting backstory about why they're doing it. They kind of always, this was always kind of the hope for this festival once it got going and got big enough that they could do it at their location. But this is essentially an outcome of the new or the beer law that was passed last year and is now implemented. And one of the things that does is it allows it kind of flattens the playing field for brewers that can essentially, to put this on, you need an out-of-state beer license. You need to be able to sell out-of-state beer, which is one of the things that's really cool about this event is they have brewers from out of state coming to Milwaukee that aren't usually here. So like they've had Breakside, they had Dovetail before Dovetail was distributing here. They've had I believe they've had Freem or Suarez. I mean, like these are like big time lager brewers from around the country come for this festival. And Kansas City Beer Company was another one. So basically they can't do that if you have a regular brewery license. You can't do that. Bavarian Beer House had a brew pub license, which is from some quirk of the law did allow out of state beers to be sold. So with this new environment, they're bringing it home, and you can find out about all that. Blue tickets go on sale March 1st, which is next week, I guess. No, 2 weeks. So anyway, just wanted to give a plug for one of my favorite beer events of the year, and kind of explain some of the reasoning behind that, as told to me by Joe. So that's all.
Very nice.
Excellent. And with that, I want to thank Landon for we have so many events, and this is only February. I can only imagine we might have to have our own little separate Badger Beer Hour on Thursdays just for events. I mean, it's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
great because when we started during the pandemic, there were no events. In fact, there was not
Right.
even a segment, y'all. So cheers to that, and cheers to, getting back to normal, if that even makes sense, if there is that. So we're going to get back to normal and move on to our newest segment here on Badger Beer Hour, which is Badger Beer Travels, y'all. So we'll see you. Thanks, Landon. We'll see you in the last call here real quick. And I need to play this. So another new segment, y'all. Badger Beer Travels. Again, having Joel from Brewery Travelers on board now. He has an extensive. The man has been to literally 1% of all the breweries in this country. 1% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 10,000 breweries, that's a lot. That's over 1,000, y'all. I mean, and even I can do that math. So without further ado, we're going to bring Joel back here, and he's going to talk about 3 breweries that he visited, and they make a nice little area there, Joel.
Yeah, and it's 10%, Greg. Gotta get your math right, Greg.
See, I don't even do the math right.
No.
This is why I'm going to introduce Joel, and then I'm going to real quick though, we're going to be doing this every month, hopefully, y'all.
I'm really excited about it.
Fit it in, and if we can't fit it in, like maybe tonight, they will live on our YouTube channel, so y'all can check them out there. As standalone segments. But without further ado, I'm going to get out of here and let the man talk. But
thanks just pop up the map for me, and we can get
absolutely whenever you get that cue going, you tell me what to do, and I'll do that. But so I'll do that right after I get off of here. Yeah. But welcome to Badger Beer Travels, y'all. I need to get rid of that, and Joel wants me to put this up, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah, because you don't need to look at me for this. So Badger Beer Travels is going to be, again, like we kind of hinted at earlier, discussing some of the beer scenes around the state of Wisconsin. And we may, at some point, I'm sure, maybe highlight specific neighborhoods in Milwaukee or Madison. And being a resident of Milwaukee County, I of course have a lot of love for the breweries around here, but I also have a lot of love for breweries in other parts of the state of Wisconsin, as I've now visited close to 200 of the breweries around the state of Wisconsin. And I've been to so many amazing places that I want to highlight many of them that may kind of fly under the radar. And for this first edition, we are going to be going to Oshkosh. And if you are not from Wisconsin and are not familiar with Oshkosh is a city on the western shore of Lake Winnebago, a little southwest of Appleton and Green Bay. Got a population around 67,000 people. It's a college town. UW Oshkosh has about 16,000 students, give or take. It's, nice little city there. And the history of brewing in Oshkosh, of course, similar to other places in Wisconsin, does go back quite a ways. There was brewing there all the way back into the 1840s. And one of the breweries was actually inspired. The name was actually inspired by brewing taking place back in the 19th century. So we'll get to that later on. But we'll go ahead and just dive in right here. And talking about kind of a general overview, Oshkosh is interesting because there are 3 breweries in kind of the city. One of them's it's technically still Oshkosh, but a little outside of the city. But they're all fairly mature for the craft beer scene, like relatively. The youngest of the breweries opened in 2017. And so, they're already over 6 years old. So when you're talking about how quickly the beer scene is growing and new breweries springing up all the time, these 3 breweries have already kind of made their roots here in Oshkosh and really kind of developed themselves. And we'll start with the oldest one there in the middle. You can see Fox River Brewing, and they are definitely one of kind of the older breweries just in general. In the state, going all the way back. They were founded in 1995. So they're quickly coming up on 3 decades of business. They also have a location in Appleton, if you're in Appleton, that was opened 2 years later. But they have this location here in Oshkosh that is on the river, and they actually have a patio on the river. And it's an interesting place because it does not have the feel of what you would typically think of as a craft brewery. It has much more of kind of a restaurant, kind of like a sports bar feel almost. Like there's jerseys hanging up everywhere. There's lots of TVs. It's got food, and there you can even also get, if you're not wanting to buy their beer, you can also get macro beers there as well. But if you are looking for their beers, they do have some really solid options. And one of their flagships was my personal favorite of my time there, called Blue Bobber. It was a blueberry ale, and they, even in my flight glass, they even tossed in a couple whole blueberries, and I've never had that anywhere else. I thought that was just quite something. But other than that, they also have other renditions of that kind of. They have a red bobber that's made with raspberries, a white bobber that's made with pineapple. So kind of a few different, very approachable fruit flavored beers. They also, have a more typical selection of light lagers, Scottish ale, but they do in golden ale. They have a couple other more interesting options. I know right now when I went and checked their tap list, they had a milkshake IPA and a sour sop sour. So you can get some more of the trendier styles of beer if that is more your taste. And then the second location that we'll be honing in on is Bare Bones Brewing. And if you can kind of glance up there in the top left corner, it is a little outside of town. Just, I guess it'd be about 2 exits up outside of Oshkosh. They were founded in 2015. And as you can tell, maybe by the logo and the name, they are dog themed. And by dog themed, I mean they take it seriously. They have their flights are shaped like bones. Their tap handles are shaped like bones. This picture is a little bit older from when I visited, but I now know on that far wall, they now have a huge mural of dogs that are all sitting in a bar. Many of the beer names are like dog themed, and their covered patio is also dog friendly. So they take, if you like dogs, you will probably enjoy visiting this place just for the vibes alone, not even before we talk about the beer. So, nice little spot there. Again, more of a traditional type of menu, I would say. My favorite there was their flagship Dog Days IPA, which was a very, American style IPA, very balanced, featuring Chinook and Centennial hops. They also had a really good Brindlebach, just a nice malty backbone of a beer. And then they do get a little bit funky. They had several seasonal fruit beers as part of their Unleashed series. Again, I think almost everything at this brewery revolves around dogs, which is pretty neat. So they do get a little adventurous with that. But if you truly want to get adventurous, you're going to want to head to Fifth Ward Brewing, which was my personal favorite of the 3 there in Oshkosh. And it is also technically the newest by a couple years. This opened in 2017, right on Main Street, actually right across basically from where the new Oshkosh Arena is, where the Wisconsin Herd G League team plays. But actually, so their name, this is where I was hinting at before, one of the 19th century breweries was located in what was called the Fifth Ward in Oshkosh. And that is where UW Oshkosh now sits. And the 2 founders of Fifth Ward went to UW Oshkosh. That's where they were kind of honing in some home brewing stuff. And they have a culinary background. And that background shows through in a lot of their beers. I had some really interesting beers, some interesting flavor profiles. I know my personal favorite that I don't believe I saw anywhere on their current tap list was called Coleman Crockett's. It was a honey saffron wheat ale. They had a cherry lime sour. They had a mango margarita sour. I know one of the other things that they just recently had that they currently have on tap is a barrel aged stout with banana puree, vanilla, and cinnamon that's supposed to kind of be themed around a bananas Foster. But then they also do have some more traditional things, a hazy pale ale, an amber, a Schwarzbier. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds if you're going there. It's a very nice, this is the more of the breweries, I would say this is the most typical when you're thinking of a modern craft. Got muted there for a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I was saying is that this Fifth Ward is probably what you are picturing when you are thinking of a modern craft brewery. And I was very impressed with their overall selection, both in terms of quality and quantity. So that would be where I would lie. But again, it makes for a nice little trio of breweries that all provide very distinct experiences, which is, I think, important when you're talking about a small city's brewery scene. You know, you don't want to have 3 places that all kind of give off the same types of beer, the same types of vibe. You know, if you want to go and catch the game and, you know, have some food with some buddies, you know, Fox River is going to be a great place to have that. You know, you literally have a patio on the river. You've got TVs, lots of food, you know, options. It's a great place to go. And if you have someone that's a little more, you know, macro drinking, then you can get your craft beer while they order their Miller Lite or whatever they want. You know, Bare Bones is obviously a great place if you have friends that have dogs and you want to go and enjoy some craft beer with your pups. That's another great location. And then Fifth Ward is right downtown, close to a lot of things, and you're able to enjoy kind of, you know, while also having some traditional things, some more out there, kind of more interesting recipes that are going to kind of push your palate. So that's kind of the overall, I guess, gist of the Oshkosh beer scene. And I'm personally really looking forward to highlighting more of these small cities and small towns around the state and what their beer scene is kind of bringing to the state as a whole, for sure.
Thank you, Joel.
Absolutely.
That was amazing. And we look forward to more. And we also look forward to wow. Y'all did it tonight. Good shit. Good shit. Love it. So
Nailed it.
I gotta get out of here because I gotta kick up my boys. But before that, we got a bunch to talk about. So I'm gonna do this really concise. Number one, Badger Beer Hour will soon feature our own website where you'll be able to get Badger Beer Hour 24/7 all day. You'll be able to see beer news there. You'll be able to get Joel's report. You'll be able to see what Chris is up to. You'll be able to have a shot at Taproom Travelers when Landon gets his stuff back going and running. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully before March. You'll keep an eye on all of our social media. We should be screaming and hollering about that soon. Number two, we're doing more YouTube content, y'all. Joel and I are going to breweries. Well, actually, we all go to breweries. But Joel and I have been featuring our YouTube. We've been doing YouTube shorts. So last week I was at Delta Brewing Company. I'm sorry, Delta Beer Lab. Joel was at North Pillar
right there. The new one there in Waukesha.
North Pillar. So you can see those things on our YouTube channel. I'm going to be headed back out to the breweries even more. Y'all know I'm a high risk kind of guy, so I've been kind of worried about the whole COVID thing, but I'm feeling good, and I'll be getting back. So you'll be seeing those on our YouTube channel. You have to.
You're sounding good, man. You got the pep. You got the pep back this month, buddy.
Pep.
It's great to see.
And it's mostly y'all's fault, but that's all good. Let's see here. Let's see what my notes say. Yeah. So one thing I do want to highlight, y'all, is I did a recent interview here with my new friend, Brock Cummings from Brennan's Beer Company, or Brennan's Beer Cellars, I'm sorry, here in Madison. You can see there, Brock and I have a conversation, about a 20-minute conversation about what's going on here in Madison as far as what trends he's seeing in seltzers and beers and the THC things, and actually wine coolers, cocktails. We talk about all that. All that's adjacent to me, in my opinion, to this, because once you go down that craft beer aisle in any place, you'll see them all. And they're all very, they're nice things to have, because some of our, we're not all lucky like Landon, where his significant other loves beer as much as he does. In fact, Joel
mine hates beer. So
right, and it doesn't work that way for Joel and I. But ultimately, though, there are things that the significant other here likes in that same aisle. So we both peruse it, and she's like this with her THC seltzers, and I'm like this with my craft beer. So it's all adjacent. Check it out. Check out this interview, y'all. It's a pretty good interview, and we'll be having more of those going forward, talking to beer insiders about the trends that we're seeing here in Wisconsin. So without further ado, Landon, anything going on with you?
Yeah, I think I touched on this when we took over your Friday stream, but I am sporadically doing some beer shifts, pouring beer down at Lazy Monk. So some Tuesdays, some Mondays, if you want to come see me down there. Otherwise, at the end of March, every Thursday, so starting I think March 21st, if that's a Thursday, my wife and I are going to be hosting trivia down at Lazy Monk. So every Thursday night, you can come play trivia for free beer. Pretty casual stuff, but yeah.
Excellent.
That's cool. That's
Joel,
cool.
Joel, welcome. But y'all have to keep it concise because I am literally running out of time. Joel, what is going on with you?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, if you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, I will hopefully soon be posting. A week from Friday, we leave for Hawaii. That will be I will become a 50-stater officially. Nice. It will be my 49th state that I've been to a brewery in. I'll be getting to Alaska this summer for beer. But otherwise, yeah, I'm really excited about getting there. We're doing an inter-island cruise. So we're going to be on 4 different, I will get to a brewery on 4 different islands, I believe is the current plan. So I'm really looking forward to showcasing that. And yeah, otherwise, just working on my own, working on my book, getting that stuff kind of squared away, and yeah, just plugging away and enjoying local beer as much as I can.
Nice.
All right. Chris, what's going on, man?
Just mainlining life, baby. I don't know. Let's see here. I've got a short story in the February issue of the magazine, spotlighting Doppelbock, but specifically the Fermentorium's wonderful latibulator, which I'm gonna just say, like, if you like that beer and you're enjoying it this time around, you can thank me, because I call the Fermentorium. I'm like, hey, that Doppelbock is great. Are you making that this year? And they're like, we weren't planning on it, but why? I'm like, I just wanted to write about it. I thought it'd be good for February. And he's like, I guess we could. Yeah, I mean, he's thinking about it. He's like, yeah, we're doing Maibach. Like, we could stack the yeast. He's like, yeah, we could do that. I'm like,
on the bottom of the can.
All right, let's go. Yeah. So
on the bottom of the can, you just say "for Chris," when they're stamped on the can. Thanks, Daniel, by the way, for the congrats. I did see that, but yeah, just say "for Chris" on the bottom of the can. So
but I think it's out like right now. I think it went to distro. It's just a wonderful beer, and I wrote a little love letter to the style and that beer, and specifically in the February issue. So you can go check that out. It'll be posted online at some point, but. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of it. Back in the Beer Baron writing business. So I had a column in the State Journal on Sunday print and Saturday digital. So you can find that on Madison.com. I don't think I've tweeted that one out. It's about cream ales and the new Three Sheeps Wisconsinitis, which is a really fine beer. And yeah, I don't know. You know where to find me. Twitter, mostly.
Well, excellent. And y'all know where to find us. Y'all will find us next month, the 20th, third Wednesday of every month. Y'all could also find us on our YouTube channel. It's YouTube/Badger Beer Hour, or you could go Badger Beer Hour. You could get our link tree. You can find it there. You can find Landon on Taproom Travelers. You can find Joel Brewery Travels. You can find Chris Milwaukee Magazine. You can find me, Daddy Porter. Also on our Friday stream. If y'all missed our Friday stream where Badger Bear took over Brothers and Booze, my Friday stream, y'all should go back to that. That was a whole lot of fun. We literally broke news on it, which I don't even know if we've ever broke news on Wednesday, but we broke news on a Friday. And y'all also will see an attempt by my co-host here to shame me for the beer that I wanted to enjoy.
I think we were pretty successful.
And well, I kind of skated out of that.
Yeah, you kind of cut off the descent there.
Yeah. Well, I was in control there, so it was all good. Believe it or not, y'all, that wasn't even planned. That just worked out that way. I wasn't even planning to play that, but it just worked out that way, and it made it look like I was like doing that. So it was really good. Actually, I was like, I couldn't even have planned that.
I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah. I actually, literally, before we go, I had some beer left over. Doug and I were going to do just a whole show of just crap beer and like throw everybody off, but we never really got around to it because I was sick. So then I was like, I'm just gonna pull this out now and see what kind of shaming that my co-hosts are going to do to me. And y'all,
Oh, we would never.
No,
y'all follow suit. So, man, this has been a real fun one to put together. Shout out to Phil, Dawson.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was
great.
amazing.
That was great.
That was one of our best interviews ever, Chris. Thank you for bringing that in. Thank you for doing that. It was amazing. It was good.
That man is a top. You just set him up and let him go.
Oh my goodness. It was great. Daniel says thank you from New York City. So we even have people who aren't in in Wisconsin enjoying the
That's
show.
why I had to make sure that people knew where Oshkosh was, right? That's what was,
right.
like that's why I had to like try to paint the picture. So
everybody knows about Oshkosh at least.
Oshkosh Bagosh.
Yeah, everybody knows that it exists. They're not really sure exactly.
Here we go.
what it is.
Washington State.
Yeah,
There we go. Yeah.
Look at that. I'm not sure where Swanson Skateboards is from, but
he's in Wisconsin. He's one of my followers. Yeah. Good guy.
All right. Excellent. And one last note before we get out of here. Beer Day says, do not sleep on Barley Pop's current tap list in Madtown. Quick, take a look. It's unreal. Shout out to Barley Pop. I don't know if anybody's been there. Fantastic list. They do a really great job.
Good stuff.
Over
really
there
good
by
stuff.
they do over there by where Starkweather is, which I think I'm going there on Saturday. The old what was that place that was right there, Chris?
It was a Barriques, wasn't it?
One barrel.
Oh, are they in the one barrel space?
Well, no. They took a different. It was a different space before. No, where Starkweather was a different one.
It was that was next door.
Starkweather was
but it's right up the
door,
street though. They're almost like on the same street.
I'm gonna go look it up here.
East Washington.
It's
next door.
now.
It's next door, Joel. Next door brewing.
Next door. Yep, that's what it was. Yep, that's what it was.
Yep. And Beer Days verifies that. But anyway, y'all, time to get out of here.
You got to bounce.
It was a great show, y'all. We did a really good job across the board. Proud of y'all. And on that note, we'll see y'all on March 20th. And y'all, I gotta hit this thing and
bye, folks. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Cheers.